Hello and welcome. I'm very happy to see that so many of you have joined this webinar, another 4 approaches to circular electronics. Today, as you can see, we're going to have the main presentations here at the main stage. So if you can see and hear me, you're in the right place. Stay tuned. After the main presentations, we're going to break out into Q&A sessions. You're going to get more information when that comes. But stay here for now and listen in. If you have any technical problems or if you have any questions or would like to share anything, you have the chat channel in the event where you can post questions or links or other things of interest to the group. This webinar is part of Circular Electronics Day, an initiative that is backed by more than 20 organizations with the aim to spread awareness of more circular approaches to the use of electronics. You have the hashtag Circular Electronics Day that you can use if you want to tweet or engage in the discussions on social media. So hashtag Circular Electronics Day. Circular Electronics Day has a webpage where you can go that includes, amongst other things, a quiz where you can learn more about the topic. I hope you will find the link and check it out in the event channel. My colleague will share it shortly. You have blogs that is written by some of the members backing this initiative. And I encourage you to go in and read them. There are really unique and interesting cases where you can get this best practice information on what other organizations and businesses have done. So part of this initiative was a webinar we held a couple of weeks ago. That was the first in the series. And today we're going to dig into the second bunch of cases. We have speakers today with us, Steve Haskew from Circular Computing, who's going to be talking about bridging the gap between circular and linear. We have Annettelbert from Blockblock, who's going to be talking about lowering the threshold for circularity with secondhand. Joel Lindqvist is with us from Attea, who will be sharing 400 organizations toward 100% IT circularity. And last out is Barton Finn from TCO Development talking about reducing e-waste with compensation program. I am Cassandra Julin from TCO Development, the organization the leading sustainability certification for IT products, TCO Certified. And I am moderating this webinar as the project lead for Circular Electronics Day. It's time to introduce the first speaker of the day. We have Steve Haskew from Circular Computing. Welcome to the main stage.
Hi.
Hi, Steve.
Hi, Cassandra.
So,
thank you.
You are now live and up and running.
Terrific. Thank you very much for the invitation. I would like to thank TCO for putting the event on. And we really enjoy working with the organisation as we have done for many years. Am I going to jump straight into my presentation, Cassandra?
Yes, sure. Go for it.
Okay.
I think the audience is very keen to hear what you have to say.
Okay, hopefully we can deliver on that. Okay, so what I wanted to try and do very quickly was to just try and share some of the insights that we have as a business. We're a 27-year-old business in the management of what was known as redundant IT or other people's hardware e-waste, if you like. And we saw a shift between the relationship between hardware and software come around about 2015. There was a technical shift in the relationship, meaning that up until about that time, the hardware element was purely linear. It had to keep up with developments of software, meaning it required more power. And generally, the replacement strategy within large users would be sort of 3 or 4 years. Come 2016 and the cloud arrives, the relationship changed where the software's job was to become ever more efficient, to push more data down the same size pipe onto an asset that could be a tablet, a mobile device, or a laptop. So we specialize in laptops. This is really our area of expertise. Circular electronics obviously is a big and wide subject. So I'm only qualified really to talk about the laptop world. So jumping in then. So what do we see as sustainable IT? Circularity is contained within the themes of sustainable IT, and what I wanted to do was to embrace what it was, so that we can say you don't have to wait for 100% or true circularity, meaning that you buy something once and you use it over and over again. There are steps you can take to becoming circular, and the solutions are there and in the market as we speak. So when you look at sustainable IT, the three tiers would be the consumption and production part, which we have a responsibility to. There is the use phase, which is clearly the user or the consumer's obligation. And there is the end of that use, or the reuse phase, which again is a shared contribution between us, the remanufacturer of laptop, and the reuser of laptop. So those are the three things. And what I wanted to try and do was just to lean everybody a little bit into why sustainability is becoming a very amplified noise, and to try and sort of demystify where we are as a business and an industry. So we know about the SDGs. If you don't, then please reach out either to the team at TCO or to me directly, and we can share that information with you. But I put this together, which highlights the big countries, I guess, the responsible countries in the world, where they're leaning within Sustainable Development Goals. I've highlighted the Scandinavia and the Netherlands. Not surprisingly, Scandinavia are doing incredibly well. The way that they view their lifestyle, their work-life balance, and everything else is really outstanding. But the one key thing that we can't get away from is 12 and 13 on the scale. So is there a direct correlation between climate change and consumption behavior? And therefore, if there is, we believe there is, then circularity is a solution to affecting climate change, which will be important this year. It's a COP26 year this year, and there'll be commitments internationally from the countries about how they're going to affect their climate change, and therefore they have to lean into socially responsible consumption. So we are a socially responsible producer. Within that, we know that if we don't change and we don't lean into a circular solution, that we will run out. It's really as simple as that. And this next picture is one that is avoidable if we turn a blind eye to the way that we behave habitually. Then someone's going to have to explain to the generations of tomorrow that actually this change is not irreversible if we do things today. Again, within laptop technology, people talk about, say, sweating the asset or getting more use out of the asset, which is important. It's really important. But actually, the majority of the CO2 within the life of an asset, a laptop asset, and I would suspect that the same would be replicant in other electronic forms, happens in the production stage. So if you consume 3 brand new laptops, then you're responsible as a person or as an organization for the indirect emission of CO2. And a ton of CO2 is roughly the same as the air contained within a house, a 3-bedroom house. So that sort of helps focus the mind as to why circularity is super important. If you can stop that event happening, then you can stop negative climate impact happening. And so having a reuse model, therefore, is critical to the solution, which is why getting involved in circularity is such a big thing. And we do that by, we buy tens of thousands of machines every month. We remanufacture these machines, and we allow big users and small users, mind, but we are leaning into the public sector to get them to adopt reuse as a part of their procurement. So they might have a responsible disposal mechanism, and hopefully you'll hear from other people in the room today, and how they help large consumers of IT but our effect to helping large users of IT reduce their carbon emissions, particularly those organisations that don't produce anything, like the public sector or white-collar workers. They can lean into a remanufactured supply as being a centre to the circular economy and get a solution. Again, I'll lean back on this. This is actually an interesting slide. For me personally, I quite like data. If anybody wants a copy of how this information has come about, by the way, they can reach out to Cassandra or the TCO team or me directly. So as a business, we're here to help you save money, which is important. I just downloaded on the Kindle Bill Gates's book about affecting climate and cost, and keeping cost affordable towards sustainability is important. So we've cracked that nut. We can directly and indirectly affect the planet, and we want to help lead by example. We're working with the OEMs to do that, but equally we're working with large users. Circularity is a complicated subject matter, and you have to work by collaboration. I believe you cannot have the total solution, but be very good at the part you're very good at. And the remanufacturing part is something that we have spent a lot of time and resource perfecting. We still have a bit of a way to go, but we do what we do incredibly well. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve, for sharing your insights with us. I'm going to pick up on a couple of things that you've said. And the first thing is one of the last things you said is collaboration, which I also believe is really one of the keys to being successful. Doing it alone is really hard. And especially you don't know everything, but there are so much expertise out there. So it's really great to get people in and take that in and take it into account when you move forward for more circular solutions. The other thing you were talking about is the emissions when it comes to laptops and other, we normally say smaller IT products as well. When it comes to smaller IT products, like you say, the big bulk, the big majority of the CO2 emissions are actually in a manufacturing phase. So if you want to reduce the CO2 footprint of the laptop, the best thing to do is keep it in the system for longer through repair, reuse, selling it on the second-hand market and so on. So I'm happy to see that your business is really focusing and picking up on that and making it into a sustainable business model. The last thing that I saw also from your presentation when you talk about, and something I hear a lot when I talk to purchasers, is the warranty, because that's one of the things that often worries them when they buy secondhand and when they buy refurbished or remanufactured products. What if it breaks in 1 year time? Then what's the liability? What's going to happen? So it's great to see that you've picked up on that and taking responsibility for that to give reassurance that a product doesn't have to be bad just because it's been
it's interesting,
that
IT is the only asset class that we have. The behavior and habit we have is only within our asset class. We buy it, we flog it for 3 years, we'll see if we can sweat it for another year, but we're going to put ourselves at risk maybe, or maybe beyond that. If we had a car, we'd make sure we service it, we look after it every year. We are entitled to do that. So there are things progressing where we're looking at as a service, maybe, whereby the users can just pay for the asset as they use it. The piece that we have that's different to everybody else is our remanufacturing factory. So we don't mind if product comes back to us. We just remanufacture the problem away, and it goes back into circulation. So for us, it's not a problem. For others, it might be. So warranty for us is an important one. We have in the UK, we have a swap it warranty, which we'll be rolling out into other geographies, and that inverts the way things work within our world. So we look at the user, whereas it might be that an engineer might go to an office first, where there's 500 people. The pandemic has shown that there are now 500 offices. It's inverted, and you need to have a warranty provision that addresses that and the welfare of the user, as opposed to the welfare of the organisation. It's the user that's important. So we have a swap it warranty. So the engineer will come to the person's house or the cafe or the hotel or wherever they are, the office, and they'll just do a direct swap out. They log on and then they're away. It's great.
Very happy to hear that. We got a question in the chat. We're going to handle most of the questions in the Q&A sessions afterwards, but she's asking about the 80% emissions number that were mentioned. We can put a link in the chat to the recent Impacts and Insight report from TCO Development, where we looked exactly at this and where you're going to have your answers from where we got these numbers. And if you're interested, then go into one of the session rooms and we can talk more about it and share more information about this also. But those assumptions are specified in that report, which we can give more information on. The last thing, big thanks to you, Steve, for sharing your information here and your case. If you think that this was interesting, I hope you will join up with Steve for the Q&A session and ask some more questions. One of the things that came up in our media monitoring just the other day was actually that Business Leader has acknowledged circular computing as one of the top 32 sustainable businesses to look out for in the future. So that's a fun thing to see. So best of luck to your business model, Steve, and hope more people are going to be interested and ask a few questions about it and how it all works.
Thank you, Cassandra.
All right, so coming up, we have our next speaker. Annettelbert from Blockblock is going to talk to us about lowering the threshold for circularity with secondhand. Hi, Annette.
Hi, thanks for having me. Nice to be here, and thanks for a great presentation from Stephen. I hope I can add more of a peer-to-peer perspective on what he was talking about. So I should start sharing my screen.
That will be one of the fun things to hear about, whilst circular computing is more a solution for procurers, public and private. You are more consumer-oriented in your approach. So it'd be very interesting to hear now.
Yeah, that's true. Hi, everyone. My name is Annette, and I'm Marketplace Director for the generalist peer-to-peer marketplace of Blocket in Sweden. If you're Swedish, you surely know what Blocket is, but I know there's people from other parts of the world joining. But we've been around for the past 25 years now, and we have around 5 million unique visitors each week out of a population of 10 million. We operate in different areas, though, and not just the generalist marketplace that I represent, which covers buying and selling all sorts of various things. We also have verticals in motor, job, education, and housing. And every year we calculate the value of all the items sold through our platform. And in 2019, I don't have the updated number yet for 2020, it was equal to 15% of Swedish GDP. And more importantly, we have also found a way to calculate the climate effect of our users being so good at reusing stuff and reselling. So for this, we partnered up with IVL, Swedish Environmental Research Institute. And by analyzing the products our users trade, they were able to calculate how many tons of carbon dioxide emissions were potentially saved by keeping existing items in use instead of producing new ones. And in the electronics category, the savings last year summed up to 22,000 tons of carbon dioxide emissions. And usually I have a comparison to this one because it's for most people and for myself also hard to grasp this figure. I don't have it at my hands now for electronics, but for entire Blocket, I know that the potential savings would be the same as if we eliminated the car traffic in Stockholm for one full year. So it really has a huge impact, the secondhand trade. Oh, sorry. Okay, so I just briefly want to touch upon the overall purpose of Blocket, which is we contribute to a sustainable world and loads of opportunities for everyone. We are really happy to see that sustainability is becoming more and more an important driver for the secondhand trade in Sweden. And in the generalist marketplace that I work in, we take it one step further in our operations. we're obviously very closely connected to sustainability, more than jobs or education at our platform. And we want to deliver a product that makes sustainable options as convenient as new. So when we work with our user journeys and offer, this is the user promise we always come back to. We know we are competing with like throwing away things for potential sellers and also buying new, potentially non-sustainable things really cheap online. So we must do everything at our hands to make it as convenient as possible to ensure that it's both easy to sell and easy to buy secondhand items. So if we zoom in more to electronics and how we work on the specific topics to lower the threshold for a circular life cycle, I just checked the numbers for 2020. And we had an average of almost exactly 1,000 listings of electronic items per day, so around 365,000 last year. And it includes the kind of things that I'm listing here, like computers, TV, phones, etc., but excludes like electronic music gear and electronics for your car, like GPS and music players and those things, and refrigerators. So that is out of this scope. So now we're just focusing on these like smaller electronic items, like you said, Cassandra. I also included some facts about what kind of electronics is sought after at our platform. And as you can see, Apple is really a favorite, like iPhone and Apple ending up at the top searches. And according to Apple, the largest part of the emissions of a smartphone is connected to the usage, but prolonging the life of a smartphone is, of course, crucial. And from what I know, one iPhone X, for example, would use 70 kilos of carbon dioxide when it's produced, and not to mention all the materials that are often not taken care of into the recycling process. So we have an important mission to lower this threshold and make it convenient and worthwhile to resell and buy electronics. So what does our users think and what are their main pain points? When we ask our users, we have identified two very clear pain points. I think you touched upon it before also, Cassandra. One is related to fraud, in particular when you don't meet the person to hand over the item, but to ship it instead. How do I know that the seller will even ship after I pay? And how do I know he or she not just putting a crappy, non-functional phone in the mail? And the other one is related to, will the item really work when I start using it? How can I be sure that the battery of my computer won't run out after 10 minutes? And how do I know the camera in my phone works? You can briefly check it if you meet someone, but to really understand that it's working as expected is really difficult for the buyers. So those two pain points have boiled down into two projects that are launched already, but are still iterated and being worked on. One is called Blocket Package, and the other one is Hidden Faults Insurance with our partner Omecom. So I will talk you through those quickly. So start with Blocket Paketet. So to increase the number of matches now between buyers and sellers at our platform, we want our users to reach each other across the country, not just in the local neighborhood to increase the matches. But you remember this pain point that I said, the payment part. So for this, we partnered up with a financial partner called Rocker, who is holding the money until the item has been received by the buyer and checked for 24 hours. Not until then, the money is released to the seller. This means if the item is not sent or if something else is sent than agreed upon, the money will go back to the buyer. We also have more extensive possibilities of helping out from our customer support, since we can fully follow the transaction within our marketplace. This has been very well received, particularly within electronics, which is by far the largest category. The service can be used across all our categories, but more than half of them come from electronics, and this is also obviously the category with the highest average value. And as I said, we're still working to make this product even smoother and part of the user journey and the obvious way to buy and sell used electronics. So the next one, the next bit we're working on, this insurance. And no matter if you are buying electronics from another part of the country or meeting up with someone, it is, as I said, difficult to know that the item really works. So for this, we partnered up with Omocom, and Omocom is quite a new company, founded merely to create incentives to keep resources in use. We are the only secondhand marketplace they work with so far, but they are working with one company for peer-to-peer item rentals, and another one, they're really focusing on the circular line of business, basically. And this insurance was launched just before Christmas, and as far as we know, it is the first time in the world. Please let me know if someone else know of it in this setting. But for this peer-to-peer secondhand goods, as far as we know, it hasn't been launched anywhere else. So we're happy about the partnership, and it gives our users the opportunity to be safer when buying secondhand items. And the insurance, it covered defects discovered within 2 weeks. I know that you, Cassandra, just said, like, talking about here, and that would be like a dream coming true, having that kind of insurance when it's a peer-to-peer marketplace. But at least this is a start. In 2 weeks, you really have a chance to quite get to know the item you bought. And it covers up to 10,000 SEK, which is about 1,000 euros. And we have had a few cases for the insurance, just one a couple of days ago now, when the charger didn't work, and the service of fixing the charger was covered by the insurance. And we're just about to scale up to other categories related to electronic functionality, such as GPS, musical instruments, and refrigerators. So I think that's my 10 minutes is up. But for us, it's really important. Happy users, happy circular life. And that's a big focus for Blocket.
Thank you, Annette. What you said as well with the insurance here, I think it's a super initiative, and it differs a little bit from what we were talking about previously, because previously it's more of a warranty that, you know, as a manufacturing, refurbishing, reseller, or whatever you are, you kind of guarantee that the item is functioning for a certain period of time, and then it would make sense that you would give it a longer time compared to when you do an insurance, or that you just want to make sure that when you receive the item, it's functioning and there are no hidden defects. So it's well done for developing this. And I haven't heard about any other systems so far. You are the first. Is it widely used? Are
as
people
I said,
purchasing
we
this
just started
service?
before Christmas, so it's we haven't done like a big launch of it. We started it. It's all about finding the right levels, also of the price, and seeing how it will be used and those kind of things. So it's sort of a sneak, which we're starting to launch it more and more. But we hope it will be a natural part when buying electronics going forward.
Yeah, it's really great to see. And also in the media in Sweden now, there's been a lot of noise around, you know, secondhand goods and the secondhand markets. We've seen the recent couple of articles circulating in, for example, I think it's Dagens Industri, where they talk about, you know, that there is a record right now in demand for secondhand products. I think they used the number of that it's up by 15% this year. So that's really great to see when we live in a time where perhaps you need IT equipment both in your office and at home. So you're actually doubling your usage, but trying to not put more products in the system, but making use of what you already have.
Yes.
So that's a nice trend to see.
Yeah, definitely. And we really hope that people also, as soon as you don't use it any longer, you should try to sell it, because keeping it at your drawer, it will just, the value is just being destroyed. So yeah.
That's a very good point, and something that we talked about in the previous webinar as well, that once you start treating something as waste, it quickly becomes waste. You need to treat it as a valuable resource for it to stay that way. So that's a very important point. To keep it circular and to keep it in the system, make sure that you don't have old stuff in your drawers. It's better to resell it or hand it in to someone that will sell it for you. You know, there are so many circular solutions out there nowadays. So really make sure you make use of them, like Blockblock or...
Yep.
Super. Well, thank you so much, Annette. If you have questions for Annette or want to find out more about the different programs offered by Blockblock, there is the Q&A session afterwards that you can join her. Moving on in the program, we have our next speaker coming up. It's Joel Lindqvist from Attea, who's going to speak about the 400 organizations toward 100% IT circularity. So that's a very high and ambitious goal set. I'm very interested to hear more about it. So let's see if we can get Joel on the stage. So while we wait for Joel to join us, perhaps we can give some more information. We see there are a couple of questions coming up in the chat flow. That's great to see. Keep them also for when we join the Q&A sessions, and we will have more time to answer them directly. Also, the hashtag Circular Electronics Day. Make sure you use that to continue the discussion. And if you have any... want to find out more on what's going on and more information, go to the website Circular Electronics Day. We shared the link before in the chat channel, so you can go back and check that out. As I mentioned, we have the quiz going on there. We have more information about the initiatives, the organizations that stand behind the work that we're doing. And also there is a blog series. So as mentioned, all of the organizations that back this initiative had the opportunity to write blogs. So there are a good bunch up there where they talk more about how they work for more circular solutions. It's great read. So I really recommend you go in and check them out. Let's see if we can have Joel up on the stage then. Okay, there seemed to be some technical error here. What I recommend, not to stall too much, is that we actually swap places of our speaker. Let's see if we can hear from Barton instead. He has joined us to talk about reducing e-waste compensation. Reducing e-waste with compensation program. So Barton is my colleague here at TCO Development. Hi.
Hi, Cassandra, and thanks for the opportunity. Can you hear me well, and can you see my screen, or can you see me?
Perfect, Barton.
Great. So thanks again, Cassandra, and hi to everybody who have joined us. I'm really glad to be here today to share some insights in relation to our e-waste compensation program. So I'll just start by sharing my screen in order to share the presentation I've prepared. Great. So to start, maybe let me take a first minute to introduce myself. So I'm Barton Finn. Again, nice to not meet, but to be here in your presence, everybody who joined here today. I'm working for TCO Development, which is the organization behind the sustainability certification for IT products called TCO Certified. And within TCO Development, I'm working for the purchaser support team, which means that my key responsibility is to basically provide support to purchasers for using our certification as part of their ICT procurement. Speaking of our certification, I thought it would also make sense to give you a kind of quick refresher of what TCO Certified is all about. So in a nutshell, the idea behind TCO Certified is to be a tool in order to enable purchasers and IT users to drive meaningful improvements in relation to the different sustainability challenges that we see connected to the IT industry currently. So that's the idea behind TCO Certified, and therefore TCO Certified is a sustainability certification for IT products. And when I say a certification for IT products, I mean a certification with certificate awarded per product based on whether or not they fulfill our certification criteria. So our certification criteria, this is an important part of our work. I mentioned sustainability certification criteria, but those are the underlying sustainability requirements that we ask a product to fulfill. And I would like you to remember for today regarding those sustainability requirements is that they include, or we cover, criteria for environmental but also social sustainability. And that's really one of the key features of our approach, I would say. We try to be comprehensive in the way we tackle the different issues connected to the IT industry. And of course, those are not limited to environmental issues. So that's why we also integrate requirements in relation to working conditions in the supply chain of IT products. The second thing that is really important and that I would like to insist for today is the independent verification system behind TCO Certified. So TCO Certified already includes a verification system that will basically ensure that certified products are and remain compliant with our sustainability requirement, the underlying sustainability requirements of TCO Certified. And what is really important to know about this verification system is the fact that it will take place on an ongoing basis at the product level, so products will be assessed, but also at the factories or where the manufacturing facilities in order to check compliance with the working conditions. So that's really about it regarding TCO Certified. Two things that I can maybe add is the fact that the certification has been out there for 29 years now. So we have around 29 years of experience of working in the field of sustainability in IT. And the certification is currently available for 11 product categories. And basically, we cover everything that is connected to office IT equipment, so computers, screens and monitors, audiovisual equipment such as headsets or video projectors, and tablets and smartphones. But we also cover everything that is related to data center hardware, so servers, networking equipment, and storage mainly. And currently we have around 3,500 certified products across those different product categories. So moving on to the topic of today, the issue that I wanted to use in terms of introduction to our e-waste compensation program is obviously e-waste. And regarding e-waste, when we at TCO Development looked at the e-waste issue, we identified different dimensions in relation to that broader e-waste issue. And one of these dimensions that we really wanted to work on was the fact that out of the e-waste that we generate, around 50 million tons of e-waste each year currently, 80% of that e-waste, or more actually, more than 80% of that e-waste is not recycled properly, meaning that it's usually sent to developing countries that are lacking or that don't have any recycling facilities or that are lacking proper recycling facilities. Both ways are linked to severe consequences for the environment, severe pollution, but also severe consequences to the persons that are involved in handling this e-waste without the proper tools or the proper facilities. And so in relation to that dimension of the e-waste issue, we really wanted to work on that topic, and we really wanted for TCO Certified to offer a way for purchasers and IT users to take responsibility for the e-waste that they inevitably contribute generating when they buy new IT devices. And we wanted to do this by giving them the opportunity to take responsibility for the e-waste that has already been generated, that is already out there, and that has already been out there in landfills or not properly managed. And so that's why we introduced our e-waste compensation program, which is called TCO Certified Edge e-waste compensated. And this one is a supplemental certification to TCO Certified baseline criteria. So it's a certification that can be put on top of TCO Certified baseline criteria that I've just described. And it basically requires every certified product, certified according to TCO Certified Edge e-waste compensated. It requires all certified products to be fully e-waste compensated. So it is currently available for notebooks, smartphones, and tablets. And when I say that it requires products to be fully e-waste compensated, it means that whenever you purchase or an organization will purchase a certified product according to the e-waste compensated certification, an equivalent amount of e-waste will be collected from a country where there is no or improper recycling facilities, and it will be sent back or shipped back to a proper recycling facility for being handled. So that's really the most basic description of the functioning of the system that I can give. And as you have probably seen, so it works as the traditional climate compensation models, but it's applied to e-waste. There are two key benefits that I would like to insist in relation to what this certification is driving. So first of all, of course, the certification is driving and supporting the recycling of IT products and of e-waste, which is really positive from an environmental perspective because it prevents pollution. But it's also positive in the sense that from a circular economy perspective, of course, because it allows us to recover materials and to feed these materials back into the economy rather than letting them just be there. So that's the first benefit that I wanted to underline. And the second is the fact that this certification is also driving the creation of local job opportunities. So when I say local, it's in those countries where there is no or improper recycling facilities. But what is more important is that it's driving the creation of fair job opportunities in those countries, because of course, the collectors that will have to work for collecting this e-waste, we have some strict requirements in relation to them and in relation to the workforce that they will be using for doing this e-waste collection. And so that includes strong requirements in terms of working conditions for that workforce, working hours, and basically every other requirements that we include in TCO certified baseline criteria in relation to social and supply chain sustainability are also valid when it comes to the TCO certified e-waste compensated, EDGE e-waste compensated. So that's really what I wanted to mention regarding this this certification that we really recently introduced. The last thing that I can maybe add to this is that, of course, I mentioned it already, but verification is really important for us. And so the verification system and the verification process is, of course, taking place throughout those different steps, from checking the manufacturing volumes to the e-waste compensation volumes, but also in terms of, as I mentioned, the working conditions of the workforce that will be used in order to perform the collection. The last thing that I can maybe add to that overview is the fact that whenever we release a new certification, it's always an important collaborative effort between purchasers, between brands, and between ourselves and other relevant stakeholders. Yeah, it's a kind of dance that we have to orchestrate between those different stakeholders. And we have always this kind of dilemma when we're trying to get the first products certified, because whenever we're talking to the industry is telling us, yeah, that's a really great system, but as long as my customers are not asking for it, I'm not too interested, basically. And on the other hand, we have the purchasers, the IT purchasers, who are the customers of the IT industry, who are also telling us that they find the system great, but they are still reluctant of asking for TCO certified EDGE e-waste compensated products because they fear that their tendering process might get invalidated because there are no certified products yet. And so in order to overcome that dilemma, we are collaborating with purchasers mainly into a pledge towards the industry. And this pledge is actually a tool for purchasers to communicate in a structured way their willingness towards the industry, their willingness for being able to procure e-waste compensated products for. So yeah, it's a way to communicate their willingness and the fact that they want to see e-waste compensated products being put on the market in a structured way, but without any hard procurement commitment from their side. So you can find all the information regarding the pledge on our website. You can also contact me. You have here my contact details, and I can give you more information on how you can get on board with the pledge. But yeah, that's about what I wanted to present today. Again, you have all my coordinates here. We are always happy to support for any questions, so feel free to always reach out to me.
And you will also be available in the Q&A session later for questions, where I guess you will share your contact details
Yes.
once again. Huge thanks, Barton, for sharing insight on the e-waste compensation scheme by TCO Development. Again, picking up a few points from your presentation, one of the most poisonous waste streams out there is e-waste, and that's something to remember, because what goes into those landfills and are being burned, it leaks out into our environment, creating hazards for human health, for the environment. So it's really important to take a responsible approach there. And if you're interested to know more, at our last webinar we had Closing the Loop, which is one of the approved collectors under this compensation scheme, that explained a little bit how the work is going on the ground and the kind of work that they're doing and the benefits of it. So if you're interested, there is a blog on the website, and there is the previous webinar to check out to learn more. Finally, also, you said about independent verification, and I think that is so true. We've seen that industry declarations just aren't enough. You need to have independent verification that the sustainability claims for a product is actually true. And to avoid greenwash and to avoid false sustainability claims, it's so important. And I know also compensation schemes receive a lot of critics out there. But if you think about a compensation scheme, not to plant a tree so that you can go on and do as you do, but if you think of a compensation scheme to take responsibility for your past, then it's actually a very sustainable way to do this. My colleagues have a lot of clever thoughts on this that she's putting down in an article that if you're interested to know more around her thinking about this, also on what's been going on with the Microsoft Sustainability Report, feel free to reach out and we can share those details once it's published. So huge thanks, Barton. We're going to move on to the next speaker in the interest of time. I hope you are now ready with the technique. Yes.
Hi, Cassandra, here I am. and excuse me for mixing up the orders of the presentation.
No problem at all. But I can't see you. Can you switch your camera on?
Of course, I can do that. No, I cannot do that, of course. The icon, my video icon is actually not active. So
okay. Well, in the interest of time, I suggest that we go ahead anyway with your presentation. And if you want to know what Joel looks like, he will show himself in the Q&A session. Would that work for you?
I think that will be perfect. So now I tried to share my screen, and that works.
Super.
Perfect. So then we are good to go, hopefully.
Yes, so, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Cassandra, and hi, everyone. My name is Joel Lindqvist, and today I have the privilege of presenting and describing one of the things that we at Attea do to contribute to a more circular and sustainable society. I would talk about the initiative that we started in 2018, where we challenge and support organizations to take the responsibility they have as a buyer of IT equipment, which of course is to become 100% circular. So let me define what I mean with 100% circular. In this context, that's when you return your old IT equipment at the same time as you receive your new or newer one. And also, and this is important, you do that in an optimized asset recovery process with a primary focus on reuse and secondary recycling. So it's a 1-to-1 ratio between bought and returned IT equipment within your organization. Attea is a company that is Northern Europe's market leader in IT infrastructure, and our mission is to build the future with IT, and we really want to make a difference. That is in our DNA, and with our market position, we have the opportunity to do so. And if there is an opportunity to make a difference, there is also responsibility, and this is a responsibility we're happy to take on, and we'd like to challenge ourselves and everyone around us, not least the IT industry. Today, I will talk about the 100% Club. I will tell you why it's needed and how it helps organizations. But before we dig into all the details, let's look at two different perspectives on how IT can play an important role in the transition to a more sustainable world. One of these two perspectives is about creating environmental improvements with the help of IT. Today, we build smart homes, smart buildings, and smart cities where we become more resource efficient. And As you know, our current situation has helped us reduce our traveling by transforming to digital solutions. And I think these are fantastic examples of how IT can contribute, and IT is and will be a key factor in building a sustainable future. The other perspective is about environmental improvement of IT that already exists within the organization. And we must not forget how and with what equipment and under which conditions we build these solutions. Imagine a scenario where we build smart solutions with hardware that has not been produced in the right way, maybe by manufacturers who do not work with a systematic improvement process, or where we do not have an optimized or environmentally correct handling of the equipment at the end of the life cycle. So of course, there are many things that are important when it comes to creating environmental improvements of IT. But if we're going to start with the most important, it's about returning all equipment that is no longer used. As we said before, storage in drawers and basement is not the future. And I think we all know that the absolute majority of the climate impact of an IT product occurs in the manufacturing phase. And with that knowledge, the most important effort we can make is to return all devices as soon as they are not used by anyone, and make them available for another need somewhere else. This will, of course, reduce the need for new products, which means that it also will reduce the climate impact. So the 100% Club focuses on environmental improvements of IT, which is the foundation for everything. And it all starts with an asset recovery strategy. And our plan, our idea, dream, if you would like to say so, or ambition are to challenge and develop and educate and inspire Nordic organizations to become 100% circular. And we believe in the model and the power of gathering around a specific and important topic and support each other in the transition. And that's why we launched the 100% Club in May 2018 and asked the question, what is the alternative to 100% circular IT? And everyone who shared our view that there is no alternative and who wanted to work towards the goal, we welcome to our club. Becoming a member is a declaration that the issue is essential and that the organization is prepared to work towards the goal. And the club is built for its member, and it's built on a few clear but very vital foundations. And first of all, everyone is welcome. There are no requirements whatsoever to be a customer at Attea. It is important to us that everyone who wants to participate is welcome to join. Secondly, the only requirement that exists is that you as a member work actively and systematically towards the goal. And it's a responsibility that you have as a member of the club. And finally, Attea has taken on the role and the responsibility of keeping the club together and acting as an enabler, a supporter, inspirer, and listen to the members' needs to develop the club over time. So, exactly how does the club add value? In what way do we facilitate for our 400 plus club members? One of the club's main tasks is to support with knowledge and inspiration. All our members have access to a member portal where we publish and share all kinds of supporting materials. There are recorded webinars where we have members that share their work so far. They talk about challenges ahead and also plans going forward. We have documents that support the member to analyze the organization's current status. And there are a lot of inspiring material on how to inform and educate the organization about why it's crucial to reduce, reuse, and recycle all kinds of IT equipment. As a member, you also get access to our local Attea specialists within sustainability and device lifecycle management to share thoughts and insights, and also to develop a member-specific plan. The responsibility to work towards the goals lies within the member organization. And the good thing is there is nothing outside the organization that prevents you from doing this. It's just a matter of deciding and getting started. The club's role is to support with the context together with all other members, of course, and support in every possible way when it comes to sharing experience, knowledge, and inspiration. But is there really a need for this kind of club? What's the challenge, you might think? Isn't this something basic that all organizations manage today? I would say that one of the main challenges is responsibility and ownership. Who is responsible for sustainable and circular IT within an organization? Is it the procurement department that purchased equipment? Is it the IT department that supports it? Or is it maybe the business that uses it? Or could it be the environment and sustainability department that runs the organization's overall environmental work? The 100% Club addresses the issue of responsibility and ownership, and it challenges the IT department to take lead and drive change together with all other stakeholders. 68% of the organizations have challenges when it comes to quantifying progress in the sustainability work, and our members, they experience the same thing, and that's why it's so important for us to address this challenge specific. And this is another example of how the club can create value and support our member. This is the 100% Club status report, which quantifies and visualizes the status towards the 100% goal. This report is built based on input and requests from our members, and it allows the member to view a holistic perspective based on what they bought, what they returned, regardless of supplier or partner. And the member portal, with a lot of inspirational and educating material that I talked about earlier, is of course an integrated part of this status report. So with this report and its different sections, you can analyze the current state within your organization, and from that you can identify activities. That could be launch an education program to create awareness, or it could be to create or update a policy for returning IT equipment, or you might want to run a project to collect whatever devices are stored in drawers within your organization. And these activities, they all build a plan. And when you execute that plan, you can monitor progress and you can share the status within your organization to build commitment and also create pride. So before I end my presentation, I would like to summarize what I've been talking about so far. Before we can get the full effect on sustainable IT solutions, we must ensure that we have a sustainable lifecycle management of the IT equipment within the organization. We know that the absolute majority of the climate impact of an IT product occurs in the manufacturing phase, so using every device as long as possible is really the key here. And do not store devices in drawers and basement storage. Let them find a new owner and a new user, and there is nothing outside your organization that prevents you from doing this. And finally, there is no alternative to become 100% circular. And if you agree and want to be a part of a context that works to achieve 100% circular IT within an organization, you're more than welcome aboard. And if you want to know all the details about the club, please join us in our breakout sessions later on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joel. What a great cliffhanger. I love to know more in the breakout session. But really, those are very good summary points that do not store, keep your products for one more year, and 100% circular, it's a vision. But the road there, like we often say, it's better to do something than not do anything at all. The key is just to get started and then build from there. So I think this platform is a good example of how you bring stakeholders together, purchasing organizations, to really share best practices and learn from each other.
Thank you.
So thank you for that. So let me give you some more information. Get a slide up to be able to show you what's going to happen next. I hope you can see my slides now. Right now, we're going to break out to the breakout session. You'll find the breakout session in the left-hand corner. Pick the one that you find you would like to know more about. You have until 4:30 CET, or to translate, approximately 30 minutes for this Q&A. To ask a question, you either click join with audio and video, and you will join the person on this virtual stage. The button join with audio and video is in the right-hand corner of the screen. We can then see and hear you, and you can ask your questions and start the dialogue. If you are a little bit shy, you can also ask the question in the chat box. But remember, on the stage, we have a maximum number. So if there are a lot of questions and you want to go on, just type in the chat box that someone has to leave, and hopefully someone will step out to leave your spot. It doesn't mean you leave the session, it just means you leave the visual image and the audio so that someone else can be seen and heard. So without further ado, I think it is getting time to jump. I can just perhaps remind you about the Circular Electronics Day website, where all information is available. This webinar will also be available afterwards if you have anyone that missed it that would like to join. Use the hashtag if you want to engage in the discussions. You have one room with Steve from Circular Computing and Joel from Attea, and you have another session room with Annette from Blockblock and Barton from TCO Development. So I hope you find a room of interest. Okay, thank you for joining this webinar, and any questions, reach out to me, and I hope to see and hear from you in the future. Thank you.